All right, good morning, America. Guess what? It's about that time again. Oh, man. It's about that time for Coffee Talk. That's right. I want you to know on today, I'm certainly blessed and favored of the Lord. Oh, man, to be able to introduce this great group of people. It is Dr. James Slim Overton on today. Oh, man, we got the Colonel Thomas Chapter, and we got the Queen, Miss Leah. Oh, man, was going to be on this morning. But before we go on, let's start off with a word of prayer. Father, we thank you on today for allowing us to sleep and slumber on last night with no hurt, harm, and danger, and to allow us to get up on this morning with new mercy. And so, Father, we ask you on today that you would word their mouth, you would guide them, and give us the information that to be better citizens in our community. Father, we thank you, God, for allowing them to receive the information that they may pass it on to us, that we may pass it on to someone else. We give you thanks. We give you praise. Glory and honor is due unto you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. And Michelle Pleasant, good morning to you.
Good morning, Bishop. How are you this morning?
Bishop. Good morning, Bishop.
Man, I'm doing well, man. How about yourself?
I'm doing great for a Monday morning and a new month, and we're ready to introduce our guests in a little bit and get started. But we appreciate everything you do for us, Bishop. And I want to remind everybody to tune in to Bishop after we leave as he continues to 10 o'clock, spreading that good gospel music to you all. Thanks again, Bishop.
Thank you.
All right. Good morning, everybody. And every morning we rise is a great day to be alive. And welcome to the Seven Cities Forum of Hampton Roads presents Portsmouth Coffee Talk. And with the hosts, Leah Drake Stitt, Thomas Chapman, and yours truly, James Slim Overton. And, you know, we're serious about this coffee. It's just not a name only. We got our coffee. And we're ready to go. So we're waiting. I thought, Leah, I heard a ping there.
She's in. Aurelia's here.
Okay.
Good morning, Aurelia.
Hey, good morning.
How are you?
All right. How are you?
Great, great, great. Look at all this technology here. That's why I need to be with her. She would have straightened out my green screen episode.
Yeah. You need to talk to her after the show.
That's for sure.
Well, again this morning and all month, this is Women's History Month, and we have dedicated our shows, our Monday morning shows, to honoring our women that are doing great things, especially from the city of Portsmouth. And this morning we have two educators, one being Dr. Marie Northley Shepard. Good morning, Marie.
Good morning. How are you doing? Good morning. How are you all?
Great.
All right. All right.
Dr.
And Dr. Aurelia.
Aurelia.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Good morning, Aurelia.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us. And you know what's funny? We got two ladies on here, and we didn't plan this. We both have nicknames of Riri.
That's right.
Riri, yes.
That's right.
Both of them are called Riri after that. But,
and that's how we address each other.
Yeah.
Riri.
Also, both of them are members of the Divine Nine, one of Delta Sigma Theta, which would be Dr. Shepard, and the Alpha Kappa Alpha.
That's right.
Sorority.
You gotta get that right.
Throw the sign, Riri. Just throw it one time. Go ahead and throw it one time. One time.
Okay, here you go. Excuse
one
me.
Time. Just one time.
But anyway, and another similarity, well, one of many, I.C. Norcom graduates.
Yes, in the house.
Graduates from Norfolk State University.
Yeah. Norfolk State.
That's
and
right.
I told you last week, next week I got something with Norfolk State Spartans. Okay. So just stay tuned. And we coming at you strong. HBCU different from Norfolk State, but just stay tuned and we'll be ready for you. But anyway,
Good.
for joining us today, and we really appreciate you coming on as educators during this Women's History Month. And we just wanted you to come on and talk a little bit about your motivation that got you into education. And we'll talk about some other things concerning education today and what are you doing now, and a variety of topics. But first, we want to start and let us know what motivated you to get into education. Did it start early, or was it something that came later on? Were you inspired by your educators? So just I'll start with you, Dr. Shepard.
Oh, okay. Well, again, thanks for having me. Mine started when I was in high school. The person that sort of led me on the track to physical education, because that was my initial major at Norfolk State, but the person who led me on the track was, I was inspired by Mrs. Lottie Short.
Oh,
who
yes.
was a longtime educator in Portsmouth, and I still hold her in very high esteem and love her dearly. And so she started me on that track because she modeled what a teacher was. She modeled that lifting kids up with self-esteem and letting them know that, okay, hello, ladies, and you knew that you were supposed to be. She put you in that level of expectation. This is what I'm supposed to be. So she started me on that track. While I was still in high school, Coach Banks and Coach Langston,
Yes.
they sort of, because at that time we had the juniors and seniors could take physical education courses as well. So Ms. Lottie Short led the way in terms of putting it in perspective that I could be a teacher in physical education. And then where do I go? In my junior and senior year, Coach Banks and Coach Langston sort of helped to continue that mode. When I got into college, of course, the teacher educators there were great. Coach Wright, who was in charge of the department at Norfolk State. And when I got out of college, when I graduated, the year I graduated, he called me back into his office, and he asked me if I had received an opportunity to teach or got a contract, and I said no. So he gave me a year at Norfolk State. He said, I want you to teach over here at Norfolk State. So I'm coming straight out of college. But the challenge was, and the challenge for me was that the gap in our ages were, my students and our age was so different, it was so close.
Yes.
The gap was so small. So I needed to get some experience for, with the high school level, with children that with a larger age gap, so they could recognize me not as a peer,
right,
but as a teacher as well. So, and it was just a temporary placement anyway, because I didn't have a master's degree. But when I got into the school system, Dr. Pat Fisher was my motivation to continue with that. When I did my student teaching under Pat Fisher, Dr. Fisher, did my student teaching, and when I got into the administration, I did my administration internship under Dr. Pat Fisher. And then when I became an administrator, she was over at Craddock High School. I replaced her at Craddock High School.
Wow.
And as a first one, and then from that, when she left to become a principal at a high school, at a middle school, I took her job. I took her place over at Wilson High School. So she has always been an integral part of just steering me in the right direction. Hurry, get it right, and giving me that motivation to go on and help with the correctiveness. Not just, I was just been blessed and fortunate enough to follow in her footsteps for the way. Now she's become a superintendent. That is not my ministry. So I'm just going to stay in the place that I am.
Well, you never know where God is going to plant you. It may not be your ministry now, but who knows?
Amen, Leah.
Okay.
Okay. All right. I drink my coffee.
Drink your coffee. Dr. Aurelia Taylor, my classmate's daughter. How are you, sweetheart?
I am doing well.
And I will add the Williams on. I had to bring that Taylor out for Connie and Lewis, you know.
Yeah.
That's
So
right.
the same question that James asked Dr. Shepard. How did you become involved? What motivated you?
So my story is a little bit different. I never thought I would be an educator at all. I graduated from Norfolk State and I went to work at NSA, National Security Agency. And I happened to be visiting my mentor while I was at Norfolk State. So just like Dr. Shepard, I too had a mentor through college who helped me see myself as a young Black female in a computer science discipline. And they were few and far between then, and unfortunately still. Really is still not a lot of us, especially with terminal degrees in computer science. So I came to visit her one day, just I was in the area, was like, let me go see how she was doing. And she explained to me that they had some openings. I had actually took a transfer duty down. So I was working in Chesapeake and at NSGA Northwest. And she said, well, would you like to teach in the evenings? And my response to her was, we don't use Pascal in the real world. You know, that's what she and I can't remember that stuff. She said, oh, I'm sure it'll come back to you and then you can help us update the curriculum. And I started thinking, you know, I've never taught. And like you, I was only about 6 years having graduated from Norfolk State. So still not a huge difference between the students. Actually, some of my very first students were my age because the traditional age of Norfolk State is a little bit elevated. And I started teaching in the evenings. I got really good evaluations from the students. And the faculty during the day said the students were a little bit more prepared. They seemed to be more prepared. So I was able to use my real world life experience, education, and, you know, the technical disciplines that I had learned in the field and bring them back into the classroom. And that helped the students to succeed. And then actually what happened is I was supposed to transfer back to Maryland, but I had gotten married and had a child. And she said, well, there's going to be a job available, an instructor position. So you only had to have a master's degree because that's all I had at the time. And she encouraged me to apply for it. And I did. And that's been 20 years now.
Wow, 20 years.
Wow.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Goodness.
Yes, congratulations.
Yes,
Yes.
indeed.
Yes.
Such a blessing that for Norfolk State to have gotten you. So that's a blessing right there as well.
Yeah.
As well as your mother has given a long tenure to Norfolk State as well.
Yes, she
So
did.
two great ladies. Go ahead.
And actually, when I started at Norfolk State, my mother was still working at Norfolk State.
Okay.
So it was easy for me to see people who that's little Connie, you know, and everything. So actually I had an in because, you know, you have the administrative side, then you have the facilities and, you know, how you really get stuff done, right? And she knew everybody. So I could always say, you know, what Connie's ass told me to ask you, you could get done what you need to get done. So,
Yes, makes a difference.
Yeah,
You have that inside connection as well.
Yeah, relationships. So I teach my students all the time. Relationship management is a big part of what you will do in your job.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, ladies, while we'll continue this conversation during Women in History Month, we take this time to acknowledge other women who have done some great things as well. And we try to look at some of those women who traditionally may not be noticed. And we like to honor them during this Black History Month. If I may take a minute, co-host.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
This morning, it gives me great pleasure to honor, unfortunately, not a Norcom graduate. She's a graduate of Churchland High School, but we won't hold her responsible for that, okay?
The Portsmouth school system.
Portsmouth school system, okay. And none other than Deborah White.
Yes.
Miss White has been with the city of Portsmouth for 33 years. In July, she will be there for 34 years. She began working for the Clean Community Commission. Then she went into the finance department, then the city manager's office. She came into the city clerk's office, worked her way from deputy clerk to being appointed to city clerk in 1997. She's been there for 23 years. And she is the first Black city clerk for the city of Portsmouth. And she also was the youngest to ever be appointed to city clerk at the age of 30. And she continues to be the longest tenured city clerk. And we want to thank Deborah White for her service to the city of Portsmouth, and take some time today to reach out to Deborah and thank her for all that she has done for the city of Portsmouth. So during this Black History Month, we salute Miss Deborah White, city clerk for the city of Portsmouth. Let's give her a round of applause, Marie. Yay.
All right.
Thank you so much, Leah. And that's one of the reasons we do this. There's so many unsung heroes in the city of Portsmouth. And everybody knows Deborah White. If you had any kind of relationship or connections with the city council, you know, she almost runs the city council.
Exactly.
And, you know, we want to make sure these people are recognized and given their due for the things that they've done. And she's done it for a long time.
Unsung heroes.
Unsung heroes.
Unsung heroes.
Yes.
Make sure we take this platform and recognize those people.
Yes.
Okay, but anyway, I'm gonna go, Dr. Shepard. So you have, started out teaching and you've been a principal, and now you're in administration. I think you coordinated for student services. What, and that's a great job for you, because I know what kind of principal you were. You were a hands-on, ugly principal, really concerned about the students' needs and made sure. You also were strict and made sure that they did what they were supposed to do. So job you have now sort of falls into your personality and what you like to do. So tell us what that job entails, what you do now. And
Well, I started out, and I meant to say this earlier, but I started out as a substitute teacher in the city because there were no physical education jobs available. So I started out as a substitute teacher. So I got a contract actually in February of the year. That's when I really got my contract. So this is my 42nd year. I'm at the end of working on my 43rd year in the district. So, you know, when you say I'm a hands-on administrator, some people may not understand what that means.
In this day and time.
Right, in this day and time. But I take a risk because I like giving hugs. Right. And during this pandemic, it's very hard for me.
Me too. I'm with you.
Because I'm a very, like you said, hands-on person. But I take a risk because that might be the only hug some of our kids get.
Exactly.
I started out initially in administration at Craddock, but the next year I went to Wilson High School and as an assistant principal, and stayed there for a number of years, and was in November of '97, I was asked to take over as interim of Waters Middle School as principal. But it was a wonderful experience. It was a very scary because my daughter was there. You know, when your daughter's there, she was like, just transfer me somewhere else. I don't want to be there with my mama. So we walked up, we walked in the halls, and we're like two ships passing in the night. She would not recognize me and that type of thing. But the very first time that she warmed up to me is because she ran in the office and said, I got a B, you know, and I was so excited that the fact that she wanted to share that with me. So, but then I was moved in 2006 to administration, to central office, and working in central office, the one thing that I missed most is that I was not with the hands-on with the kids and helping to directly affect them, on a daily basis. But then I had to look at it from a different perspective to say that I'm working on behalf of all the students in the city of Portsmouth and try to affect change that way. In this position as student services, it changes with administration. So in terms of what some of the things that I am responsible for change currently, I'm working with attendance. I work with medical services. I used to work with 504 and have some other things like special ed underneath my supervision. But now I work with attendance. I work with the New Teacher Institute. And what that means is that at the beginning of every year, we have an induction of new teachers into the system, bring them into a 3-day type institute to go over some things that they need to have to prepare them for the next year. I had teacher mentoring under my belt for several years. I had counselors, school counselors, but that's not with me now, but I still hold them dear because they really have an opportunity to work with students in that tier 3 or in that one-on-one setting when they need those specific types of assistance as well. I work with scholarships, some scholarships, and attendance right now is the main focus for some of the things that I do as well.
Right.
I know I left out. I work with ISAP, which is those students who are 16 to 17 or 18 that are within the school system that need to take the GED.
Right.
Okay. And
Right.
I work with that. And I also work with PBIS, which is Positive Behavior Systems of Support. And that falls under Dr. Rosalind Sanderlin. But one of our administrators told me that my position was I am a general administrator, meaning that because I wasn't tied under a content area like math, science, social studies, and English, that whatever needs to fall under me will fall under me, if that makes any sense. Give it to her, give it to Mikey, she'll,
Give it to Mikey, she'll take
right, she'll take it. But a lot of things, and that presents an opportunity for me because it still helps me to grow and build those relationships like Dr. Williams was talking about. Relationships are just so important. It helps to build character. And once you begin to build those relationships, the personality of another person that helps you grow and helps them grow as well.
And I like that quote that you have that says, success has a process. It starts by liking yourself. It continues by loving yourself. That is the only way you're going to better yourself. The decisions you make today will definitely affect your future. Please think before you act and think before you do anything.
And that started when I was over at Hunt Map Middle School. And I would say that on the loudspeaker every morning. And I continued it through Waters. And I still see students, some of my students from long ago that I don't remember because they're old with beards and mustaches. And they'll come up to me and they recite that. And I feel honored and humbled because they still remember and made something. Because if you don't take that moment to think, you can find yourself in different situations that it will be difficult to get out of.
Right.
And so I wanted to make sure that they, as they started their day, they had something to hang on to before they make some irrational decisions.
Well, that is one of the things we're teaching the children in Dare today about consequences, consequences of your actions,
Yes.
Right. James, I
want to get Dr. Williams in there, and I want Colonel to get in there because he really believes in education, and he came education through the military, which leaves you without school debt. But anyway, hold on just a minute, Colonel. I wanted to ask Dr. Williams, now you are, let's see, you are the Vice Provost of Academic Administration. Am I correct there?
Yes, you are correct.
Okay. And are you still Director of Cyber Security?
Yes, you are correct. I'm like Marie. I'm like Mikey. I got all the jobs.
Right. These are just multitasking on different levels of education.
Yes.
What I wanted to ask you, on that level of education, you being in the computer sciences with our young kids all into computers and game playing and everything, how is that translating into kids coming into the university setting, interested in computer science and things like that?
So I started as an instructor, as I said, and I through promotion, and I ascended to a full professor of computer science. But I always worked on the persistence of computer scientists in the fields. That is a huge problem because a number of our students come to computer science and they think that that is playing the games, right? And computer science is developing the games that people will play. And so it's a little bit different, and it's a little bit different perspective, but it really includes lots of people. So if we have innovative and creative people, we need them, because think about the apps that you use on your phone, right? The presentation of the apps, the colors, those are the things that make them inviting. And so we need people who have innovation, who are artistic, who can put those things together to make people want to use them. I mean, what if you had an app and it was all words? Would you use it?
No.
You would put it in
Not at all.
because you want pictures, you want to touch them, you want it to pop up and do things. So we have to prepare our students to think a little bit differently. So what you like playing about the games, you have to make sure that you're incorporating in them into the design element. So we often have people from musical backgrounds because they're artistic, creative, and they can add that layer that's needed to make the games inviting.
And Aurelia, you had an amazing experience recently. You got to host now President Joe Biden and Governor Terry McAuliffe and Bobby Scott. And is it Munez from Transportation?
Yes, Eric Munez. Yes.
Yeah. So what was that experience like?
So actually it was in 2015. I can't believe it was 6 years
so long ago. Yeah.
Yeah, right. And so Northley State University submitted a proposal to the Department of Energy for a $25 million grant award to lead a consortium of 13 HBCUs. And it was accepted and we were awarded. And then Vice President Joe Biden came down to make the award on campus along with the governor and Bobby Scott and the Secretary of Energy. And I was there to greet them. And so I have pictures and it was a great time. And now that he's president, Biden is just one of my most memorable experiences. But more importantly, that effort to combine the strength of HBCUs for 6 years, I learned a lot, not just in helping the students to get with placement into cybersecurity jobs, but again, managing people and people at different HBCUs, because every HBCU has its own personality. Right. And so, you know, you may have a lead, but you know, sometimes people want to be the lead, but you have to make sure everybody has their place where they can lead, but understand the overarching goal. So over 6 years, we did that well. We did a lot of great things with that particular project, and I'm very happy with our outcomes.
Very good.
Very, very good.
Colonel.
You know, Dr. Williams, you mentioned the Vice President Biden at the time coming down and awarding you the grant. I remember during the debate, he couldn't remember Norfolk State's name, but he also cited that program that he helped start in the administration started to fund. And I have two kids that also are graduates of Norfolk State, one in nursing, that's the one I'm helping now, who's in the military, and my son Thomas graduated from the computer science program there.
Okay.
And, yes, and so I am a firm believer in the STEM sciences, especially for us and young kids, because I think that is a wave of the future, science, technology, engineering, and math, and also add nursing into it, because if you get that, I always say that you will never be unemployed.
That's true.
Yeah, so as far as the future goes, where do you see the STEM programs at Norfolk State going?
At Norfolk State, CSET, the College of Science, Engineering, and Technology, has always been innovative and leading among HBCUs. This year alone, we have several partnerships with big tech. So right now, the computer science and engineering departments have representatives from Netflix teaching our students programming.
Wonderful.
That is needed. So that was a program the students had to apply for. This semester, they are taking 2 classes and they get credit for it. So it's those type of partnerships that really help to keep us abreast of what the employers are seeking so that our students can be prepared. We also received a grant from Microsoft, and in that we are building a center for secure applications, and we're hoping to create a prototype for a Vote 2024 application.
Wow.
So that people can vote from their phones, with the secure techniques. We also have a partnership with Apple. We actually have 2. One is the coding and creating partnership that is currently going on. Tennessee State University is the lead. HBCU is a member of that consortium. But in that program, faculty are retraining. Computer science and education faculty are retraining on creativity using Apple Swift products to develop code. And we actually have Apple representatives that are working with us. We have an Apple professional learning consultant on campus with us virtually. If we were not virtual, she would be on campus. So she's helping teach our faculty to learn how to teach with Apple tools. And we are launching a pilot for students that will receive Apple devices.
Wow.
So that they can infuse technology into their learning and see how that works. So that's a new program that's happening at NSU. And we have, so many more. We have a partnership with Apple, MITRE, Sandia. All of these allow faculty to engage in research now and be able to use their company's resources to improve their research. And it's the same model. So if I can improve my research and then bring it back to the classroom, then the students will be better prepared upon graduation. We also, right now, have a group of students going through an EGRC, that's governance, risk, and compliance industry research project. So every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday, these students connect to our system remotely. So we've given them equipment to use, and they are learning how to use the Archer system and build applications for vendor management. But, it's all about the experience that are made available at Norfolk State University, through the CSET and through CS Computer Science, because that's my home. We are still doing a lot to make sure that our students are prepared to meet the needs of the workforce.
And they're all great.
Let me step in, Leah. Let me step in for
to consider.
Let me step in for a minute.
Drawing cards are there.
I just need to step in for a minute because we come to the hour where the radio program has to end.
Already?
Yeah.
But we will continue on Facebook. So everybody stay tuned. It's on Facebook. But we'd like to thank all the listeners on WGPL 1350 AM for joining us this morning with our educators. And like I said, stay tuned. So, and I want to come back on the other end and ask the 2 educators about what they need, students need to do in high school to prepare,
right?
To be really prepared for their college, the next journey into college. But Leah, before we leave the air, we have another person we'd like to recognize.
We do have another young woman who we would like to recognize from the city of Portsmouth, and none other than a Wilson graduate, Latasha Colander Clark. Latasha, a retired track and field sprinter who competed internationally for the United States in 1994 on athletic scholarship Colander enrolled at and later graduated from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. In 1994, in the 100 hurdles, Colander was the USA Juniors Championship and placed second in the World Junior Champs. Yet soon she switched to sprints in 2000 and 2001. She was the US champion in the 400 meter in April 2000. Her team set the women's record in the 4x200 meter relay, a record standing over 15 years onward. In 2000 Olympics, Colander won a gold medal in the 4x400 meter relay upon her teammate Marion Jones' 2007 admission of illegally doping. The International Olympic Committee stripped the whole team's medal. In 2010, however, by a successful appeal, all team members except Jones had their medals restored. Colander missed the 2001 World Championship because of an injury. And in 2003, she switched concentration to the 100 meter and won the 2004 US Olympic trials in the shorter event. At the 2005 World Championship, she placed 5th in 200 meters. Colander has established the IC Treasures Within Foundation. Its mission to strengthen kids, families, and the world through education, sports, and spirituality. So today, she was also inducted into the Virginia Sports Hall of Fame in 2014. So today we salute Latasha Colander Clark, a world champion.
Okay. Thank you so much for that. We really appreciate that. And Colonel, I see your cat did make an appearance. Before the show was over. But anyway, we can go into, and the bishop will close us out whenever he sees fit. But we will go over into our Facebook portion of the program. And yeah, there he is now. He's closing out the radio portion of it. So whoever was, I don't remember who was questioning last, but whoever wants to continue with the questions, please.
I do. I have one.
Okay, Carol.
If I can get in this. Dr. Shepard, could you wade into the debate of what some people say is siphoning off public money into the private sector and into charter schools or for-profit education for K through 12?
That has been sort of like a challenge. There are a lot of, I always lean towards public education because there are students who may not be accepted in the charter schools, who may not have an opportunity to be a part of that world. And because they can't be a part of that world, the large population of our students still have to be educated and educated effectively and educated with fidelity. So the monies that are put into the public sector need to be used effectively, of course, and for those programs that we have. Now, the state and federal government, they will give us some funds, but what the parts that they're shaving off for those charter schools, that's one thing. The problem for me is that because if everybody can't afford the opportunity to go to charter schools, what is the mantra about leave no child left behind? I understand it, but that had a very political piece to it. But every child should be educated and every child should succeed. It means something, okay? Every child that goes through a charter school or private school, we still have, that's a small percentage in terms of who we have in the general population that need to fulfill jobs and fulfill opportunities within the communities that we serve. They need to be educated well, as you know, they need to be done, they need to have classes and teachers that really want to be there with them. Those relationships need to be built because even while they're in the community, a lot of them are still working in those different areas, whether be it in the custodial world, be it in one of the fast foods, in a restaurant, in the hospitals, and even in the city hall area. Those relationships, they need to see that teachers are caring for them, because a lot of times they go back and just like we did this morning. I remember this teacher. I remember
Yes.
that teacher. Those types of things. Those relationships are built, and when we take money and shave money off of the public sector to put it into other fields or charter schools and those types of things, I think it sort of takes away from what we can do to support our teachers. Sometimes the funds that we have, some people think that they're using it incorrectly, but
Mhm.
there is a committee, and then we do, they take the superintendent and all those the executive leadership really take an opportunity to talk to others and talk to those persons at the grassroots level, at boots on the ground, to get a feel of what is needed
Mhm.
in the schools.
So a following question would be, you mentioned the political aspects of it,
Yeah.
and I call the the law that you just mentioned, the leave all the children behind.
No child left behind. Yeah.
No, leave all of them
Keep all the
behind.
children
Yeah. Oh,
behind.
yeah. Oh, that's your
Yeah,
version of it. Yeah.
yeah, my version.
Yeah. The political piece.
But the question is performance of the kids coming in. If you look at two baskets of apples, the public school education and those coming out the private sector,
Yeah.
what is their performance, in your opinion, over the long run in the collegiate area? Because one of my jobs, my last job in the Army, was running Cadet Command, and I gave out $30 million of scholarships every year.
Okay. Wow.
And I saw that kids graduating from public schools had a higher propensity to one, be ready for the collegiate world, and they adapted well
Yeah.
because they had real world experiences
Right.
versus
Exactly.
in the private sector, and especially
Yeah.
homeschoolers.
Yeah.
It was almost a waste of money sending them, giving them a scholarship,
Yeah.
in my opinion. And so when I did that, we sectioned it off and gave more. I could spend my dollars more better in the public sector.
It,
So
it gives it gives it in the public sector and in public schools, you have a lot of you met some people say, well, in a charter school, a private school, the student teacher ratio is small. Okay, say that, but it doesn't mean that the teachers are giving those this special attention to where it's needed. Okay, those students who are in the public sector, they have an opportunity to build relationships, learn students, and to learn because they have such a diverse setting in their classrooms. They get an opportunity to see what real world settings are like, and the opportunity for them to strive and to be motivated to do better. However, we have some students that are not ready, so they need some more of that tier 3 or that one-on-one and small group. You have an opportunity to have that in the section as well. But you have those students who are motivated uh, to move out of their communities because, or to go to Norfolk State or to go to those other areas because they see a need for growth, and I can't make it here. Now, it happens on all ends. And I say this, I have to say this. My sister and I live with my grandparents, as Slim knows, who lived with my grandma. My mother, when she was a woman, she moved to New York to make sure that she brought money home. That was back in that time. You go up north and take the money, and you make the money and send it back home. So we stayed with my grandparents. That was our family structure at the time. So when I went to school, I knew that not to leave, but I needed to do better. I needed to do more. But my grandparents trusted the school system to do the best job that they could for us. Okay, so what our job and what my culture was and what our family dynamics was, you go to school, you do the best job you can. So the expectation was that when I got my degree or when I graduated, that I would go away, go to college, and do the best job. Some structures are not like that. Family structures are different. Okay, good, bad, or indifferent.
Totally
There's
different.
some structures that a student in the midst of that, that's something that's sort of ever changing, can still be propelled and motivated to do better. So sometimes all it takes is one caring adult in an educational setting to propel a student to be another Dr. Williams in cyberspace and to do those things. So, sometimes it takes that one spark. It doesn't take a lot. So I think that, even in the midst of in the public sector, if we could put a public education so that we can reduce the class sizes, but still have those caring teachers that are going to do what they can to push a child positively push a child forward to do the best job that they can do.
Right, right. Dr. Williams,
Yes.
I'm hearing a lot of children talking about cybersecurity now. What do they need to do to prepare themselves in high school to get to be there with you at Norfolk State and learn about this cybersecurity?
So I often tell students to do what they like to do. If they like to solve puzzles, cryptograms. I don't know if you remember that series of rainbow color books.
Yes.
When I was a child.
Yes.
There was one of those books that had a lot of like Sudoku puzzles back then where you would substitute in a letter for a number. And that was a form of cybersecurity. Okay. So if you like to solve those type of puzzles or then that shows that you have an inclination towards discovery, right? Because that's all cybersecurity really is. It is encrypting our networks and things and then decrypting them. And then if somebody does that, can you find out what they did and be able to tell somebody this is what they did and how they did it? Right. And so if you like investigation, discovery, solving puzzles and all of those things, that's great. Now, what teaches you how to do algorithm development? Because the thing is, liking to solve the puzzles is great, but doing it more and more, back to back becomes an algorithm. What is your plan of attack to solving that problem? Math. And a lot of people don't want to hear it, but the truth of the matter is a math problem's answer is always a math problem's answer, right? And there is an algorithm to doing it. And we all learn PEMDAS and all of that. So if you do one of those things out of order, then your problem is wrong. So math teaches you algorithm development. It teaches you to learn formulas that you can then apply to lots of different problems and word problems. So a lot of students don't like word problems, but in a word problem, you read a problem, you have to pick out what information is useful to you, and we call that your inputs. Then you have to turn those inputs into outputs. And what is the processing that you need to change that input into the output that's going to give you the answer? It's, that is the procedure that is used in a word problem. So students need to not shy away from the word problem, and they need to do the math. And while you might not do the differential equations or the calculus, it is still the algorithm development that you use in algebra. That's in solving simple problems. That is going to help you with the cryptography or the cybersecurity.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Interesting. But you know what, Dr. Williams, students that, we graduate a plethora of students in different disciplines. And for the STEM student coming out of North State on the baccalaureate level, stay in your computer science majors. What is the employment statistics for these kids coming out of your program? Because if I'm going to invest, I want to know what's on the other end.
Okay. All right. So I used to teach. Well, I'm not teaching now because I'm in an administrative position. But I used to teach the freshmen coming in and the seniors going out. So I really had those numbers about 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
At that time, we would teach the students as freshmen how to prepare your portfolio. So
Mm-hmm.
what that means is if you want a job we have a high rate of employment for our students who follow our prescription. And so we would give them the prescription. If you come in and you maintain a 3.0 GPA, that's all we need, a 3.0 GPA, and you participate in the internships that are available, and you work with a faculty mentor, you will have a job. So the students who listen to us well, they would normally get a job at an internship at a university. Then we would send them out to a company, and then we would send them out to a government agency over the 3 summers that they were there. And then that would give them an idea of what type of job they wanted first. And most of the time they would go on to graduate school, but with an offer. So some would go to master's degrees, some would go to PhDs, but I have sent students to San Diego for the summer.
Mm-hmm.
And making, lots of money during the summer. These students come back, $8, $9, $10,000 in the bank because I paid for them to go. They get and play, and I pay all their housing and all of that. So they had no bills while they were out there. I even sent a student to Spa World in Hawaii. So imagine being a student going to Hawaii. And San Francisco was one of the places we sent a lot of students. So they loved being out there on the West Coast. We had a relationship with Lawrence Livermore. Out there, we sent them to Sandia in Albuquerque. We sent them to Rome, New York at Air Force Research Lab. We sent the students a lot of places, and we would support them so they would earn their money and not really have to pay for the housing too. So you can't get a better deal than that. And if those students, so if the students follow our prescription, then they have the 3.0, then they had a job. That was a no-brainer. So back then, we probably had about 60% of our students having a job out from the undergraduate level with the average salary of about $60,000, which is not bad for 22, starting off at $60,000. Yes. Our graduate students were about 20,000 more and averaging about $80,000.
Okay.
And I used to complain when I was a department chair, I just need more students, that would listen, to maintain that 3.0. Once you get around a 2.5 or a 2.8, you would get the job offers, but it would take maybe about a little while, 3 months, 4 months before you to land one that you really like. So our students were very employable, especially with the relationships that we had with federal government agencies. They would pick up a lot of our students.
Yes. You know what? I'm gonna make a quick commercial break here, and to those who are out there, and if those folks that like what you're hearing, we at Seven Cities Forum would like you to either donate or seek us out for a sponsorship so we can continue and expand these type programs. And if you can correspond with us or send us a sponsors request or donation to Hampton Road, Seven Cities Forum, P.O. Box 7664, Portsmouth, Virginia 23707. And we also have a email address that Slim will give you right now. And you can tell us how do you like our program. And it is what?
Slim? The Hampton Roads, Seven Cities Forums at yahoo.com. Yes. Hampton Road, Seven Cities Forums at yahoo.com. That's the email address. I want to switch just a little bit, Dr. Shepard and Dr. Williams. We've had Dr. Ernestine Duncan on here many times, who is a professor in the Department of Psychology at Norfolk State. And she talked about mental health on the high school levels and college levels. And in January, we dedicated our shows to the crimes happening in the city of Portsmouth, a lot involving youngsters or teenagers and things like that. And how important is it for the teachers and the professors to be aware of mental health issues that might be going on in the cities and even in the college level? You know, sometimes college level, you get the pressure of doing well. You come to college, your family is back there bragging about you, and you feel that pressure of doing well. How important it is for the teachers and the professors. And we see this in our African-American communities, especially because Dr. Duncan talked about the suicide rate for African-American kids is younger, is in the like 5 to 12 years old. And directly, because once they're at school, you don't know what's going on, where they're coming from, what kind of situation they're coming from. So I guess it would, going back to my question, how important is it for the teachers and the professors to be aware of the mental health issues that a lot of our students are going through once they get into the classroom?
I think it's very important. Part of the issue too is that you, and knowing that there is, and I want to couch this, you don't want some teachers, every teacher is not on the same level. I mean, that's reality. You don't want teachers to have a preconceived notion too. There's a certain amount that they need to be aware of, the fact that this student, you know, has gone through some things. Some teachers may not be able to handle it because teachers have situations too, and teachers are going through situations too. So it may be something that triggers what a teacher is going through, you know, because they have their own set of issues. There's such a thing as the adverse childhood experiences, or the ACE experiences. There are a lot of our students, especially typically now in Portsmouth, some of them are dealing with things, and they dealt with them for so long. It's like that iceberg. There's so much of the iceberg is underground, and you just see just a little bit from the surface. And so what you see from the surface are those things, those behaviors that are manifesting because of what is going on back in the day, or, you know, when they were little. But you have a lot of students who see gunshots on a regular basis, or parents, you know, cussing, you know, them out. Somebody's doing drugs, and some, not all, but there's a percentage of what they see. Or somebody's gotten shot, you know, and you see flowers on the corner of those monuments that they're setting up outside of gates and things where a student was shot. Students are dealing with that. I'll never forget the time when I was the principal of assistant principal of a middle school, where one of the students got shot through the door. And she went to the door, somebody knocked on, she got shot through the door. And so I dealt with that. So when she was when the funeral was done, they had to put a veil over, you know, the casket, because they couldn't really do what they needed to do. Another student was committed suicide because she committed suicide. So not knowing what was going on with her, we see her in school and she's, you know, happy-go-lucky and that type of thing, or very quiet in some cases. So there are a lot of the students, the teachers may need to know some things, but it's as an need to know basis, but knowing that the student has some things going on. When you get them in small groups and get them in those tier 3 sections or one-on-one, you'll be able to talk about it, you know, be able to deal with it. There are certain things that will trigger something in a classroom, but every teacher can't handle that. You know, it's like on those case-by-case, one-on-one, when it becomes a situation that you need to deal with. Now, behaviors will lend itself to the situation where you have to put them in a small group or even in a one-on-one session. But, you know, to say that they need to know it all, they don't, you know, because people can't handle it.
I agree.
Right.
So at Norfolk State, students who have disability or who are experiencing something can report it to a person who is responsible for managing those things. And then what they do is send or give the student a note basically that says this person is to receive these type of accommodations. So the professor responds to the letter that says these are the accommodations that I have to respond to without knowing what the issue is. And that's good because it protects the student's privacy, as well as we are not asking the professor in the classroom to act in a manner that they're not trained for.
That's right.
And mental health is real. Dr. Ernestine Duncan actually is doing a stress series for our faculty first Mondays at noon. Because as a result of the pandemic, as Dr. Shepard said, everybody is trying to survive a pandemic, right? So students have challenges, faculty have challenges, and when you put two persons in an environment who are both responding to external situations, you can get an explosion. So we are trying to help the faculty to manage their lives who also have kids. I mean, I go, you know, into work. Today is my day in, but I have, you know, two children here, one trying to graduate this year, whose senior year is, you know, completely disrupted, not like he ever thought it would be. And then I have a younger one who's will be 13 this month, who's trying to figure out algebra virtually. Right. And so, you know, I have to be able to respond and help my kids, but I also got to go to Norfolk State and be able to function and help all the kids and the faculty and everybody else. So everybody is dealing with something. We don't want faculty put in a place to try to manage something that they have not been trained to do. It's not good for any of us. So we are helping everybody to try and maintain their mental health and provide the place for students. So if a student is feeling overwhelmed, we send them to the counseling center. We send them to the professionals who know how to deal with the particular situation. Because sometimes a faculty member just can't take another thing, so to speak, right? But you transfer. We have the support systems in place at Norfolk State and people who know how to do their jobs well. So we encourage them, stay in your lane, send the students to the people to get what they need to get, right? The people trained to do that job. But that's what we do. We recognize that everybody is dealing with something, and as such, as a university, we have extended accommodations for grades, you know, for the last 2 semesters, and will again this semester. With advising though, right? So if you don't need the accommodation, don't take it. Meaning if you pass the class and got the B, take the B. Don't just take the P because it, you know, could adversely impact you in the long run. You know, but we recognize that mental health and particularly in this time, it really is challenging.
There are a lot of kids. Oh, I'm sorry. There are a lot of people who are lonely. Okay, there are some parents who have to work, and because it's for the survival of the household, and so kids are are left to be at home. With that being said, some of them are really throwing themselves in their books or throwing themselves in their classwork. There are some who are not, and who we see in the streets in some cases. But the ones who are there, they really yearn to see a face like this, like we're seeing now, because I see somebody, and this is the way that I get my relationship fix done, you know, because I'm being able to talk to somebody. Can't move out to really, at this point, to really build those face-to-face relationships on a regular basis because of where we are, just like Dr. Williams said with the COVID scare. But they are lonely. My grandson told me, I said, what's going on? He said, I'm lonely.
Mm-hmm.
And this is coming from a 13-year-old as well, Dr. Riri. So, and understanding that, how they're feeling. Now, he shared that with me, how he manifested somewhere else or how it comes out in his behavior somewhere else is totally different because he's one of those ones who need to have that relationship. That was my 13-year-old. I have a 5-year-old grandson who made it clear. Can you be my friend on his Facebook in his classroom? Can you be my friend? Please be my friend. So what the result was there was another young man who said told his mom he wants to be his friend. So they have play dates on every Sunday. So they made it work.
Mm-hmm.
How many of our kids don't have that?
Exactly.
How many of them don't have that problem-solving piece of a parent that take the extra mile to do that? So I'm saying, can you be my friend? Can you be my friend? And nobody's on the other end responding to that. And we have a lot of those students who are thriving, who just really need to make a connection.
Right.
And the teachers, like Dr. Riri said, the teachers, I got to get this done. They were thrown into this virtual world, Plus, we have over a large, close to almost 1 million people that have passed, or 500,000 people that have passed from COVID, plus so many in the hospital that has shut the country down.
Right.
Okay, shut the country down. So, and with that respect, we have a lot of people who are lonely, and a lot of people who need that human touch and can't get it. And I got the only way I can talk to my family members like this. Are you okay? If that's the case. So, there are challenges on all ends. So, yeah, our students are just, and teachers, and everybody. And to say this, school counselors are not trained for the mental health piece. They do what they can. What we did was, when I was over the counselors, was to make them aware of the ACEs. Not that they weren't, but to continue to let them know what this means and what it all is, and to sort of help to direct them to what we have within Portsmouth to help with that, with the behavioral health care services, and then we have those things in place.
Go ahead.
With the children physically being in class, we know that abuse is up since this pandemic.
Yeah.
And since the children are not in class, where normally a teacher may notice some things about a child, or they may see some things where they're able to notify the authorities that this child is in danger.
Yeah.
What's happening now with this virtual world? Because we don't have those steps in place to identify the abuse or the situations that children are going through in the home.
Yeah, well, if they see it, they can be mandated. They still are mandated reporters. We're still in school. So if they see it and they're aware of it, they're still mandated reporters. That doesn't take that off the table.
Right.
If a student reports something, they can still share that information, to the authorities and make it say, look, just do a wellness check for me. They should. There are a lot of parents who are frustrated because they were thrown into the mix as well. Some of them don't have the the computer literacy piece. Just like we talked about the fact that if you just forget to press a button, you don't, so some of them, I had my grandkids for their virtual learning one day, and I got frustrated. I got that okay, well, let's see what you can do. What you need to do. Can you imagine parents that maybe don't have some of the background and some of the knowledge that I have going into it, and they're just looking at the screen and, well, I don't know what you need to do. They're frustrated. With that frustration, they may take it out on the kids.
Yeah.
I have one more question for, I guess it's for the both of you, our esteemed guests. Dr. Williams, you talked about your 13-year-old trying to learn algebra. And then I go back to Dr. Shepard saying that some people say this is going to be the lost year of K through 12 kids have lost it because of what we've thrown at them. And then so what do you think the long-term effects of this, as we all learn about how to deal with this education in the pandemic, and then as they graduate, say for those who are graduating, going on to careers to try to start their academic careers at Norfolk State and other universities, do you think that are there going to be some long-term studies to see how these kids adapt and they make their ways on the collegiate level? So I guess this question is to both of you because there's different parts to it. If you can sort of.
So I think there definitely are going to be long-term studies. I mean, the COVID-19 and the impact and the effects and the outcomes, it's so much to learn from it, right? Because of the way that the country shut down and education had to turn on a dime to go from face-to-face to online. And trust and believe, if people plan their classes for face-to-face, you can't just say, I'm gonna do exactly those things in the online space. It doesn't translate. You have to make a lot of modifications to be able to ensure that the students receive the learning outcomes. So I would say the spring semester last year was probably the biggest challenge, right? But a lot of places around the university, around the country, Norfolk State included, implement faculty development to train teachers on how to modify and translate their classroom from a face-to-face to an online environment. And so they have to adapt assignments, they have to adapt assessments, they have to adapt just all of those things on getting the information back to the students. So from the students. So while I believe there will be some delays, I think by now, a year later, faculty have really made the adjustment so that the students will have a better chance at it. Now, that doesn't change what the student is reacting to in their environment. That is the difference. They're not going into the classroom. And so as I was mentioning, my son being 13 years old, trying to learn algebra, I'll be very honest. His report card came home and I was like, what the, you know what I mean? Because it was astonishing to me. I'd never seen these type of grades. And when I talked to him, and I'm an educator, right? So I'm an educator working with students, faculty who are educating them right here in my house. It seems that I missed the mark. But when I talked to my son, he said it is hard. He doesn't understand how I can sit at my computer all day and just click from Zoom to Zoom to Zoom to Zoom to Zoom, right? That's the only interaction. He is a people person. So for my particular son, he was accustomed to going to hanging with your classmates, going to his grandparents' house for the weekend, 2-3 days at a stretch. Didn't bother me at all. And in COVID, because they are, advanced age, I wouldn't let them go. Yeah. Because I have to protect my parents from my child who I don't, you know what I'm saying? So, and he couldn't go. Now that they have been vaccinated, got their 2 shots, I let them go. And, so his world is coming back. But this was a child who had not gone outside really in a year, right? Except for, maybe to the grocery store, but I didn't even really let him do that. But his brothers, older, were going out and doing things. And so I had to sit back and realize, how it was truly impacting him and his ability to apply himself in this different environment. Now, what I love is that the teachers in the public school he goes to, Hugo Owens, they recognize the challenges too, and they recognize that, so the thing, here's one thing. If you're in class face-to-face, the student is doing their algebra, they get some instruction and then they have to do some work to apply it immediately. In a virtual environment, the teacher is giving the instruction and then they tell the students to do it, but they don't necessarily hold them on the camera. So what do the students do? Turn it off and go do something else. Now, we all know that if we don't apply something immediately, you tend to forget a little bit, right? So I had to recalibrate him to, even though your teacher turned you off, I'm gonna need you to sit here and do this work.
Yeah.
and turn it in. And if you have a question, then you need to ask me or either one of your older brothers who took algebra and were all advanced in math. Like they remember it better than me. But what if the students don't have that at home?
Exactly.
And the support, the resources available. So just with that little change and me paying attention a little bit more, right? Because in the spring semester when they went to online, he was turning in all of his stuff on time. It was my junior in high school. I would get an email every week. He got all these missing assignments. And I was like, boy, would you just do your work? But in his mind, the teachers had given them deadlines and, you had to the end of the semester. So he would just wait to the last week of the semester and crunch through all of that stuff. And he would get his B or get his A, and that was okay. So by the time it came to the senior year, I was like, I need you to just take the classes that you need to graduate because you're going to stress me out this year with this practice. And so right now, all he needs is like a science class. And I was like, why didn't you just take it last semester? You could have graduated in December. But for him, he's hoping that his senior year is going to come back.
Right.
So to answer your question, yes, there probably will be some delays, but I believe that everybody recognizes the impact that all the educational systems are doing. And I think we will build in time for recovery because we have to. We can't just expect that the students learned everything because, the teachers were learning how to teach it while the students were learning how to learn it, and so we have to recognize that it is a challenge, but nobody is it impacted everybody, right? And so we just have to make sure that we are accommodating, and Northley State is, and the teachers, when we receive the students from the K through 12 systems, we're gonna know that they had the challenges, and then we'll do what we do. That's what HBCUs do anyway.
That's what we do. And at the K-12 level, first of all, let me say this: virtual learning is not going to go away total. Okay, it's not going to go away. However, this summer, what we plan to do is to have summer school, and that's one of the things that falls under my cap. Summer school, but we're going to have it. Our plan is to have it face to face. Okay, so we're going to have it face to face. But just like Dr. Riri said, it's going to take some reteaching. Okay, small group reteaching is going to take some remediation. Remediation is going to take some review, and it's going to take some retraining, and definitely some adaptation for all. And the teachers are going to, because we had kindergarten students have never seen a classroom.
Right.
Okay, our kindergarten students from last year, they had half a year of a classroom, so they haven't seen a classroom. So the training starts not only with the teachers, they have to be retrained for some of them, and understand that when they come into the classroom, you're going to have kids who never seen a classroom.
That's true.
And the fact that I did my work, but I was probably in my pajamas from the bottom down, if that, and were laying down on the sofa, if that, those types of things. Especially those kids who were K and 1, if their parents had to work, they probably didn't see face to face. Some of them didn't, because they were over grandma's house or Miss Nini's house because she babysat me, and so they were there. So I did my work when Mama came back home and set me in front of the computer. So because of that, some of them really didn't have that face to face. So when I go into the classroom, how am I going to behave? So the patience that's going to be needed when they get back face to face, even if it starts in summer school. And what we're doing in summer school is doing that reteaching, that remediation for those kids who really need it. We're making sure that those students, and it's going to be offered in all of our K6 schools, as well as with our middle schools. That transition, There are a lot of students who are our 8th grade students last year didn't have that transition into a high school.
Exactly.
You know, and we do a transition things at the high school level for our 8th graders going into. So they're going to be sophomores going into high school that never been in a high school before. In that regard. So a lot of that we have to work with that and train our teachers. And that's what the administrators are doing, because they know what to expect coming in. Well, you know, they have some ideas to what to expect in terms of the behavior, in terms of the students who really can't settle down because they haven't been there before.
Right.
Well, Dr. Shepard and Dr. Williams, the subject of education we could talk about for hours, but
All day.
we're going to end at some point, and it's probably one of the longest ones we've had. But
It is.
the information we're getting from it is worth it. I think so. And I wanted to give Leah an opportunity to recognize our people again. We always do it twice on the radio and during the Facebook Live session. So Leah, if you will.
Thank you. And ladies, this has been a most informative session. I really enjoyed every bit of it. But during this Women in History Month, we try to acknowledge women who've done great things. This morning, we will recognize a Churchland High School graduate, in none other than Miss Deborah White, who is our city clerk. She's been with the city of Portsmouth for 33 years. She began working for the Clean Community Commission, then worked in the finance department. She then moved on to the city manager's office, and she came into the city's clerk office in 1991 and has worked in that office, came in as a deputy clerk, soon being appointed to city clerk in 1991. She is the first African-American to hold that position, and she is the youngest to ever be appointed to the city clerk at the age of 30. She is still in that position at this time, and she will be with the city 34 years in this July. So this morning we salute Miss Deborah White. Also during this time, yes, we give her a round of applause, and we will call her and congratulate her. Also during this Women in History Month, we would like to acknowledge a Wilson graduate, none other than Latasha Colanda Clark, a Wilson graduate, who is a retired track and sprinter who competed internationally for the United States in 1994. She went to North Carolina Chapel Hill on an athletic scholarship. And in 1994, in the 100-meter hurdles, Colanda won the USA Junior Champion and placed second in the World Junior Championship. Soon she switched to sprints in 2000 and 2001. She was the US champion in the 400-meter. In April of 2000, her team set the women's world record in the 4x200-meter relay, and record standing over 15 years. In the 2000 Olympic, Colanda won a gold medal in the 4x400 relay. Thank you. Upon her teammate Marion Jones' 2007 admission of illegal doping, the International Olympic Committee stripped the whole team's medal. In 2010, however, by successful appeal, all team members except Jones had their medals restored. Colanda missed the 2001 World Championship because of an injury. In 2003, she switched concentration to the 100-meter and won the 2004 US Olympic trials in this shorter event. At the 2005 World Championship, she placed 5th in the 200 meters. In 2000, Colanda had established the I See Treasures Within Foundation, its mission to strengthen kids, families, and the world through education, sports, and spirituality. Colanda was inducted into the Virginia Sports Hall of Fame in 2014. So this morning, during Women in History Month, we also would like to salute Miss Latasha Colanda Clark.
Yeah. And I'd like to add that Ms. Colanda Clark is a minister now and very active on social media, talking to other athletes about their spirituality
Very
and
good.
religion. So she's moving on.
Mhm.
And so we must end. I'd like to thank the ladies, but we must have you back. Education is something we could talk about all year round,
Yeah.
because we want to go into, since the makeup in the city of Portsmouth especially is, I don't know the percentages, but I know it's pretty high as far as African Americans, and how the need is there for us to make sure that those students know about their heritage.
Right.
Especially, excuse me, especially people in the city of Portsmouth that have done things and that are doing things that they can feel and touch and see that look like them. So we'll discuss that next time we come on. I know the governor had a commission to study that, and they have rendered their their findings to the government. So hopefully we'll see some more curriculum, sort of concentrating or focus on African American history.
Right. Right.
So, any last thoughts from our guests before we sign off?
Well, I just want to say thank you for having me this morning. It has been a wonderful conversation. As you stated, when we're talking about education and what our students can do, I am all for it, and I look forward to creating those opportunities. It was someone who gave me a chance, right, from early fifth grade. Like I mentioned in our previous, I was a part of Search, so we had. Mentors then who poured into us to tell us that we can. And so we did, and then I got a mentor in college who said failure is not an option. And so I tried to relay those things to students. And like Marie, I don't touch the students every day now because I'm in an administration, but I do still try to bring opportunities to the university for our students. And I hope your son Thomas is doing well now with his degree in computer science. And just again, thank you for having me here.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it. I'm just like Dr. Riri. I really appreciate this opportunity. It felt like, of course, that's like having a conversation with my friends, because you are. And so it gives us an opportunity just to talk about what we do, and just the passion that we have with it. I mean, education is something that I've done all my life, but just to give a voice to it on a personal note, to let people know that we all have some of the same struggles. But it just takes, and I just really need to say this again, just like Dr. Reed said that her mentor told her that failure is not an option. If you're able to have one caring adult in a child's life, 2 or 3 is fantastic, wonderful. But if it was one caring adult, I don't care if it's the custodian, the cafeteria worker, it could be the librarian, it could be somebody that a child could look forward to going to see, a focal point to bring that child to education. And sometimes I used to tell my children this when I was at Waters, that when you first walk over that mat that's always in the front of the door, at that point, just wipe your feet and know that you're coming into a positive place, that there's somebody there to care for you. And the students, when they get to the college level, they still have their issues and their concerns, just like they do at the K-12 level, but they're adults and they're beginning to understand themselves. But K-12, you got to put another level of a cushion around them, because they're not able to make any of those decisions for themselves. And to know that somebody's going to give them tough love, but it's love, and give them that affirmation that you can go through, you can do this. We're going to see the other side. And so I think that those who are listening to know that it takes just one caring adult.
That's all.
Just one. They got to see somebody there that's going to love them and care on them and just let them know that they're special. Some kids never know that they're special.
That's true.
They never know that I can be somebody. I can do something. I can go anywhere. I can go to San Diego. I can go to Albuquerque. Those types of things, and to dispel the loneliness that they feel in their heart. And some of them are having that. And I just, wish that I could just hug them all, those that, because that hard experience that they have, it's just because they are dealing with something on the inside that there's a loss and a void.
Right. Mm.
Thank you all again.
No,
Thank you
you
again.
both.
Please join us next week as our guest will be Dr. Paula Hammon Boone, Virginia Union. She is a retired optometrist now, but she has a lot of information to share. And as a matter of fact, she was the first Black woman optometrist in the state of Virginia.
Wow.
Still lacking representation in that area. So please come back next week and join us as she comes on and shares her story and what she's doing now to try to recruit people in that field. Fantastic. So thanks again. Take care, everybody.
Thank you.
All. Bye.
Have a cup of coffee with us, okay?
I shall.
Okay.
Riri.
All right. Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Take care, Colonel.
All right. Take care.